Chapter 155. Shizun, aren't you surprised? As the wedding of Ru Fengsek's young master drew near, a rumor began to circulate. In no time it had reached the ears of the guests from all major sects, causing quite the stir.
Nangong Si, listen! I heard something outrageous a few days ago. But the more I think about it, the more I'm sure it's going to be true. Wanna hear? What a coincidence! I also heard a shocking secret about Ru Fengsek. Could it be the same?
His companion waggled his eyebrows suggestively.
Does Nangong Si's secret involve two particular people?
He asked, his voice heavy with implication.
Indeed it does.
After exchanging a meaningful glance, one of them said quietly,
I'll go first. I heard Ru Fengsek's Ye Wanxi and...
At this, his companion couldn't keep a straight face, much less maintain the dignified bearing of a young master. He guffawed and slapped his thigh, eyes sparkling with the thrill of sharing secrets.
Yes, I nearly laughed my head off. That's it. Ru Fengsek's Ye Wanxi and Song Qiutong are having an affair. As they say, bad news travels 1,000 miles before good news makes it out the door. I wouldn't have guessed that even someone like yourself, who avoids petty gossip, would have heard about this. We should keep it down, though. We are in Linyi, and there are Ru Fengsek members everywhere. The walls have ears, you know.
Whether the walls had ears or not was hard to say, but a rumor repeated often enough soon became indistinguishable from fact. Though nobody could claim they'd actually seen any evidence of this affair, the rumor swirled like a wad of cotton in water, the details growing lusher and more lurid with each telling. As it spread, even commoners in the small villages outside Linyi heard it whispered in their paddies and fields.
Godange, I'll tell you a secret, but you have to promise not to tell anyone.
What secret? Don't be coy, tell me. My lips are sealed, I won't speak a word.
Then you'd better listen good. There's a shocking scandal going on at Ru Fengsek. That Song Qiutong, you know her, right? The girl who is about to marry Nangong Si. Turns out she's quite the little vixen. Maybe Godange hasn't heard. She's already turned her back on her fiancé and hooked up with Ye Wanxi.
What? Why?
Why not? Don't you know when Song Qiutong was auctioned off at Xuanyuan Pavilion back in the day? Ye Wanxi was the one who had fancied her first and bought her for dual cultivation. I bet he had all sorts of nasty ideas.
Flabbergasted, Li Gudan's mouth fell open. Only after a long while did he manage to stammer out.
Heavens above, how could such a thing happen?
The humble villager's mind was turned upside down. That night, Li Gudan hugged his wife close as they chatted with their heads on pillows.
Junhua, you're the best,
he said with feeling. His wife, Chao Chunhua, blinked.
What's wrong? Why are you saying this all of a sudden?
Look here, you might be a little bit fat, short and ugly, but at least you work hard and bear children. Not like some little ladies who cheat on their husbands and don't know a woman's place.
Chao Chunhua was peeved.
How am I ugly? My complexion's a little sallow, is all. Nevertheless, her curiosity had been piqued. Whose wife is sleeping around? Why haven't I heard about it?
They're not from our village. It's a Taoist lady and master from that lot always flying about on swords.
Who?
Chao Chunhua asked in astonishment. Those two who are about to have a big wedding, replied Li Gudan.
It took Chao Chunhua a moment to think of Nangong Si. She stared blankly for a while before understanding it.
Heavens, no!
She exclaimed and sat bolt upright in bed.
Seriously? You better not be pulling my leg.
Why would I? Li Gudan puffed out his chest. He wanted his wife to trust him, so he said solemnly,
One of my buddies saw Ru Fengsek's Ye Wanxi and Song Qiutong getting it on with his own two eyes. They've been sneaking around behind Nangong Si's back since ages ago.
In all this vast world, talk of love affairs travelled fastest. Everyone, the rich and the poor, cultivators and ordinary folk alike, happily seized upon this new topic of conversation. In the blink of an eye, the guests gathered within the Rufeng sect had all heard of the scandal. By the time the tale made its way to Chu Wanning's ears, it had sprouted a truly splendid pair of wings. The year, month, and day of all Ye Wanxi and Song Qiutong's secret rendezvous had been precisely determined. It was even going about that Song Qiutong was hurrying to marry Nangong Si because she'd fallen pregnant, but Ye Wanxi was a heartless reprobate who refused to damage his future prospects by acknowledging her and the baby. If you don't believe it, wait and see for yourself who that kid takes after, Nangong Si or Ye Wanxi. Chu Wanning knew Nangong Si, but not Ye Wanxi or Song Qiutong. He couldn't say whether the rumor was true or false, yet felt extremely irritated by it. Unfortunately, he was the type who was much more effective against clearly defined threats. When it came to those more nebulous matters, and in particular anything of a romantic nature, his hands might as well have been tied behind his back. He had no clue what to do. Thus, when Nangong Si paid a visit to Chu Wanning in the guest courtyard, Chu Wanning subtly tried to probe him, but Nangong Si failed to catch any of his implications. As before, he only blithely regaled Chu Zongshe with anecdotes about his fey wolf, now Bai Jin. I found a mate for him a while ago. It went pretty smooth. The bitch should birth a litter next month. I wonder how many pups we'll get. Nangong Si mused with a grin. If any of the whelps are particularly good, I'll have father send one to Xisheng Peak. Chu Wanning saw an excellent opportunity, so he replied. But I wonder if the blood of this wolf pup will be pure. Why wouldn't it be? Now Bai Jin and the bitch are both from the same breed of cultivational snow wolves. Can't get any purer than that. Are you sure the mother hasn't been mated to another fey wolf before? Nangong Si blinked. No way. That she-wolf was raised by Bitan Manor, and she was the only fey wolf in the whole place. She couldn't find another mate, even if she tried. There's only been our now Bai Jin. Chu Wanning thought he couldn't be more obvious with the hints he was dropping. He was plainly drawing a parallel between people and wolves, and thus implying that Nangong Si should take care regarding those rumors. Why didn't he get it? After some thought, Chu Wanning concluded that he must not have made himself clear. He deliberated further and added, even if she was the only fair wolf at Bitan Manor, she must have stayed at Rufeng sect for a while when you brought her here to mate with now Bai Jin, right? You keep so many fey wolves. Could it be possible that... No way. Nangong Si laughed brightly. So this is why Zongshe was worried? The she-wolf and now Bai Jin shared the same kennel. How could the other wolves even have a chance? Chu Wanning was at a loss for words. Forget it. Hopeless idiot. Nangong Si didn't notice Chu Wanning's dark mood. He stood and extended an invitation. Zongshe, the moon whistle fields were unfinished when you left. Since then, they've been expanded twice. Why don't I give you a short tour, and you can take now Bai Jin for a ride? I'll have to decline, said Chu Wanning. Why? Nangong Si asked, visibly crestfallen. I don't know how to ride anything but horses, said Chu Wanning. Anyway, stop playing around so much. You're about to become someone's husband. You can't spend all your time raising wolf pups and cavorting about the training grounds. You ought to spend time with Miss Song whenever you can. People and animals are alike this way. If you don't spend time together, you'll drift apart. Nah, Qiutong's always good to me, and she's very obedient too. Chu Wanning leveled him with a long stare. If Zongshe thinks I'm neglecting her, I'll ask her to join us. Nangong Si continued. I talk about you all the time. I'm sure she'd be delighted to meet you.
Since Chu Wanning wasn't familiar with Song Qiutong, he couldn't guess what of the rumors was true and what false. It occurred to him that it might not be a bad idea to get to know this young couple before the wedding. Chu Wanning nodded and stood up.
Very well. Why don't you go fetch her then? I'll wait for you at Moon Whistle Fields.
On his way out, Nangong Si ran into Moran on his way in. They exchanged bows beside the partition wall of the courtyard. Moran spotted Chu Wanning as soon as he entered, standing beneath the branching osmanthus tree. Before him was a small red clay stove with threads of steam rising from it, and on the stone table sat 2 cups of half-drunk 8 treasures tea.
Shizun, did Nangong Si come for a visit? He invited me to Moon Whistle Fields to see his fey wolves.
Chu Wanning turned to head into his room.
These clothes are unsuited for riding, so I'll get changed.
Fey wolves were formidable creatures. Even if Moran knew Chu Wanning could handle them, he didn't feel comfortable letting him go alone.
I'll accompany Shizun,
he offered. Chu Wanning stopped in his tracks and shot him a sidelong glance.
Do you know how to ride wolves?
Moran grinned, his black eyes dancing.
Why not? I'm good on horseback. By extension, I should be good at riding anything, wolves included.
Chu Wanning was about to sneer when he realized there was something suggestively, dangerously ambiguous about the phrase, I should be good at riding anything. Those scenes he'd dreamt suddenly flashed before his eyes. He remembered the position of those 2 figures in his dreams, the sheen of sweat on Moran's sturdy torso, Chu Wanning himself helplessly sprawled on the bed, letting Moran have his way, like a plaything trapped beneath Moran's body that the latter rode at a headlong gallop. Chu Wanning's face burned red.
Absolutely shameless.
He huffed under his breath. Whether he was reprimanding Moran or himself was unclear. Chu Wanning turned on his heel, threw open the door to his room, and stalked inside. The rolled-up curtain over the door swayed in his wake, mimicking the juddering heart of the man taking refuge within. Moon Whistle Fields was a vast clearing. Its dry vegetation rustled in the biting air, the yellow-green plain glazed with a layer of frost. The winter sun hung indifferent in the sky, chilly behind a screen of clouds, its light half-hearted and lifeless. In contrast, Wu Fengsek's private hunting grounds lay at one end of the clearing, lush with pines and cypresses. Their thick needles glowed gold at the distance, like the soft down of a baby bird. Nangong Si stood before the field's wooden fence in conversation with Song Qiutong. He caught sight of 2 silhouettes approaching through the mist, Chu Wanning and Moran. After a start of surprise, he grinned.
What, Songche? Did you come with your Shizun because you were worried about leaving him in my care?
Moran smiled back.
No, I came in case Shizun comes across anything that displeases him. If there's no one to take the brunt of his anger, he might vent it on Nangong Si, and that would be unspeakably rude. I'm here as his punching bag.
Chu Wanning glared at him.
Seems to me like you're here to start trouble.
Song Qiutong, standing behind Nangong Si, let out a tinkling laugh. She lifted her lashes, fine as a chick's feathers, and gracefully stepped out from behind her fiancé. Everything about her was achingly beautiful. Hair luxuriant as clouds, face charming as flower in bloom. She glanced at Moran and Chu Wanning and said sweetly, I've always heard that Chu Zangshi and Mo Zangshi share a deep master-disciple bond. Now I see it really is just as they say.